Hey, pilot, what's going on? Welcome to Ready for Pushback. I'm Nick Fialke. You found another great interview show with my good friend, Tom Cross from the Airline Pilot Association, which is the union, the biggest union for airline pilots. We talk all the ins and outs to give you a baseline of what a union is, what it's like to be in a union, to work with a union, to work for the union, and all the different things they do. At one point in your aviation career, there's a really high likelihood that you will end up in some kind of union. So I figured we'd talk about it today. So sit back, relax, let's get ready for Pushback.
Most pilots don't understand what career opportunities are available in the world of aviation. They're making career decisions based on advice from friends or posts on internet forums, meaning they are taking huge risks with their livelihood without having all the details. This podcast was created to help you understand the aviation industry so you can find your dream job. Let's get ready for Pushback. Here's your host and my dad, Nick Fialke.
All right, we got Mr. Tom Cross from ALPA. How are you, sir?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Man, I'm awesome. It's great to see you. You are an old friend, and we have gone down the path of the union world for a long time together. So thank you for coming on the show.
Yeah, man, it's great to finally be able to do this and do this with you.
Yeah, we've been talking about this for like a year and a half, right?
Yeah. It's the airline world trying to get those schedules to sync up. So
that's right. Yep. So for the one or two pilots that don't know who you are, will you give me a little bit of your background?
Yeah. So like I said, my name's Tom Cross. I'm a United Airlines 757, 767 first officer. I've been with United for about 3 years. Got involved with ALPA here as soon as even before I got off probation, they snatched me up. Before that, I was at Atlas for a year flying the 747, and then you and I were together at Envoy Air. I was there for 4.5 years, 145, 175 captain. Started out as a volunteer as a P2P and a mentor, ended up the Chicago FO rep and vice chairman, then got elected to the MEC vice chair position, then the master chair position, and then got to enjoy that position during the COVID-19 pandemic and also our opening negotiations. So it was quite a ride.
Yeah, and that's where you and I met way back when we were both at Envoy, and one of our mutual friend Phil Vondenop pushed me into volunteering, and so I was the vice chairman of the Miami LEC.
Yep, and the FO rep. Yep.
Yeah, that was the FO rep, and we went through a lot of chaos together, especially during COVID. I want you to tell me, if I am a pilot and I'm on my path to an airline, but I'm not in an airline yet, how do you describe what a union is?
The biggest thing that I would say is that the union, it's your bargainer, it's your negotiating tool, it's your collective voice, right? The union's a bottom-up organization, especially the way ALPA is structured. Every base has a council. I'm Council 12 in Chicago, and as the council, we elect our captain rep, our FO rep, and our secretary treasurer, and those men and women are our voice. They're the ones who we give direction to at a local level. They take that to the master executive council, where they all get together and act on the resolutions that we've passed and come up with basically they're the drivers of the ship, and then they tell their leadership, the master chair, the vice chair, the executive administrator, treasurer, and secretary, what we want. And then that goes even higher to the executive board at the ALPA National level, where they can make change for the entirety of the organization as a whole. So, in the grand scheme of things, it's your voice. It's who negotiates your contract, who figures out and approves your hotels, your transportation, your catering. It's the hand that rocks the cradle, basically.
Yeah, I think that's important. To the way I look at it is the line pilot, the regular line pilot, they're a member of this union, but each base, that you are in has a leadership committee within that union, and that is the local executive council. And that leadership, their whole job are a couple things. Number one is to reach out to the pilots in that base and find out what's going good, what's going bad, where they need help, and to listen to that. And they take that information, just like you said, and they bring that to the next level, and that's brought to the next level, and the next level, and the next level. And that, I think, is one of the things that people get confused about, because when you start at a company, you have to fill out these forms and you pay dues. There's like a certain percentage of your paycheck every month goes to the union, and all of that money is basically used to advocate for you and for your role. But also it does a lot more. I spent a lot of time when I was at my local council working with the chief pilot, and that the chief pilot is the management side of the house, the actual company side. So you have the union side and you have the company side. Talk to me about that relationship and what goes on in those conversations.
Yeah, I mean, at the local level, and you and I have both been a local rep, so we understand it very well. You're the voice for your pilots. So, say you're the first officer rep, and you get a phone call from First Officer Schmuckatelli, and he says, "Hey, I got a problem. I got called into the chief pilot's office." So, you as his rep, it's your job, or her rep is, it's your job to, one, talk with that pilot, try and figure out what's going on, why they might have gotten called in. And then two, to go to the chief pilot and have that pre-meeting and say, "Hey, what's going on? Give me the background." And hopefully, in Chicago, we've got a great relationship with our flight office. So we're able to talk with them and, you get the background of what's going on. And then you're going to go in there with that pilot and sit there and hear what the chief pilot's office has to say. And you're going to talk, you're going to give your side, and they're going to give their side. And, you're going to, kind of go through the process. And the way it normally works is they ask you for a statement and you do that. But it's important to have a good relationship with the chief pilot's office. And in Chicago, I'm actually on our grievance committee, so I do a lot of those note taking and sit in on those representations. And so it's important for your local grievance guys to have a good relationship with the chief pilot. That way you can walk in and talk to them and see what's going on and see if there's any trends. And then you could take it back to the pilots and say, "Hey, we're seeing this, and the chief pilot's office is kind of giving us a heads up. So let's see if we can change the trajectory that we're on, so none of you end up in here having to have a discussion."
Can you give me an example of what a grievance is?
A grievance is generally, it's where you believe that a section of the contract has been the company's not lived up to it. It could be as simple as a catering dispute. Hey, there wasn't catering available on my flight. I was entitled to it. You didn't provide it. I submitted an expense report. It was denied. So we're going to file a grievance and go through a process. And it's a multi-step process. Usually we like to take care of them at the first step, that we don't have to go up through the VP of flight ops and then potentially an arbitration or a system board or anything like that. So there's so many steps to it. But a grievance is basically a formal dispute between you and the company that the contract has been violated and you want to seek a resolution to it.
And it often takes a really long time to get through those channels.
I mean, you and I experienced it. I mean, we had a couple hundred of them waiting to be heard at Envoy. But luckily, I think at this level, at the major level, they go a lot quicker and the process is a lot faster. So it's, there's more resources available to us and them, and we're able to get through these a lot quicker without having to go to arbitrations. Only the very serious ones go to arbitration here. Talk
to me about the difference from going from a local rep to being the Master Executive Council chairman.
That was, it's a big change. The local rep, you're on the phone 24/7. Your pilots are calling you for everything. Questions about show times, hotels, contract violations, anything and everything, they call you. when you're the master chair, I always said, my job as the master chair is I'm the conduit. I am here to serve at the pleasure of the LEC reps. I do what they tell me to do, and it's my job to go to the company and be your speaker, to be your advocate. And so when you give me direction, that's what I do. And then on a bigger level, there's a role at National where you're part of the executive board and you help steer the direction of ALPA National and what we're going to do there. And you're communicating with your group vice president and telling him what your pilots want, and or her, I should say, and pushing your individual airline's agenda to make sure it becomes part of ALPA's agenda. So it's definitely a different role, and you're also a de facto member of the negotiating committee as well. So you're in on that group of discussions between the negotiators and the company's negotiators and lawyers.
Talk to me about negotiating a contract. That's so interesting to me.
Yeah, we did the opener in 2020 where we got to pick 5 items and the company got to pick 5 items, and the big thing was, they have to be cost neutral in aggregate. So we could have something that would cost us a little money here, but we would give the money back there. So it's a give and take. I mean, we collect data like crazy, and especially at United, we're polling right now, we're doing surveys, we're listening to our pilots to see what they want. And, what's going good in the contract, how they feel about things. So all of that gives the negotiators an idea of, okay, we're going to go into Section 6 negotiations and open this contract up to renegotiate it. Here's where we're happy, and we don't need to focus a lot on this. And then the other side, they could say, well, here's where we need to improve. And on the other side of that, the company's going to do the same thing. They're seeing where what they thought was going to be a really great thing for them might not be that great. So in the next round, they might want to, claw back a little bit from there and come to us with a proposal. And it's just give and take. I mean, you literally go through the contract section by section and renegotiate everything and decide what you like and what you don't like. And it's a long and arduous process. And these things take years sometime to get done. I mean, we just saw it in the last round where, we rejected a tentative agreement, and then you guys came to one, we came to one next, American came to one after that. It's pattern bargaining. It's kind of somebody sets the tone and then you just kind of follow it. It's like, well, Delta got this. So, we're kind of looking at that. And it's like our profit sharing formula mirrors your profit sharing formula now. And it's, it works out really well for us, much better than our old one did. So.
Yeah, that's a really good point. So when I remember being an envoy, they basically hired a lawyer to be the guy that head up the negotiation part of it. However, we used pilots that were not lawyers, and I'm wondering, is still the same thing happens now? Like, so why is that?
Yeah, so the company always will have a firm that helps them, and I think the group at Envoy, they were well known in the industry. And yeah, the airlines do have pilots who are negotiating, but you have to remember, ALPA has these resources that are absolutely vast. ALPA has staff attorneys. ALPA has outside counsel as well. ALPA has a really good economic and financial analysis department that anything that you do, they can run the numbers on and tell you what the cost benefit analysis is on it. So the pilots are speaking with the company, but their data is being driven by men and women who are absolute professionals. And, they won't send you in with bad data. They won't recommend that you negotiate something that could hurt you and hurt the greater good of the pilot profession. So yeah, while on the pilot side, it's pilots who are negotiators, their backgrounds and the people who are supporting them, absolute confidence in them.
Yeah. I think of my buddy, Andrew Rose, who was, he was a CPA and had just a vast background in finance and was really helpful for our committee to leverage his, decades of work into something that was effective for the pilot group that we had. That was a really amazing thing.
Oh, it was tremendous. I remember, I love Andy. We were doing a Zoom call with the company, and I'm on a tent camping in Mackinac Island, Michigan, hotspotting my phone, one bar, barely working. And Andy's like, you didn't include the cost of per diem in your cost analysis of a pilot. And the phone just got kind of quiet, and you hear some whispers, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we'll have to get back on you on that one." Having someone like that, just in the room to look at the numbers, it's huge. And I think of our grievance committee on at the Master Executive Council. We have lawyers on the grievance committee. I mean, the pilots that you're flying with every day, their educational knowledge, their professional knowledge, it's astounding sometimes. We're not all just pilots. There's a background that a lot of these people have. We have JAG officers that fly for us. I mean, it's awesome.
I think about the comments in the YouTubes that this is going to get. This is going to be fun.
Yeah, it'll be, yeah.
Let's talk about ALPA National, because you talked a little bit about the behind the scenes and how there's economists and how there are lawyers, and there's a lot to it though. Break it down and tell me some of the things that are going on behind the scenes that the regular pilot probably isn't thinking about.
I mean, there's so many things. I mean, we've got Jason Ambrosi, who's from Delta. He's our president of ALPA. He is the guy you see on TV all the time when ALPA has something to say or has input. Jason's going to be out there front and center all the time. Then we have Wendy Morris, who's the first VP. She's a United 787 captain. Wes Clapper, he is FedEx, I believe. He's the the treasurer, and then we've got Sean Creed, the VP of admin. So we got these four individuals up at the top who are, in charge of this massive, not only almost 70,000 pilots, but then you've got the staff that's in ALPA as well. So they're driving the agenda of the pilots. They're making sure the day-to-day, functions of the association are good, that they're being good stewards of the pilots' money. We've also got our legislative side for it. So we've got a group of men and women who are driving ALPA's agenda on Capitol Hill. There's so many facets. We've got Aero Medical. We partnered with AMAS out in Denver for when a pilot has a medical issue. There's just so many facets to what's going on in Tyson's Corner out at ALPA National.
Yeah, so when I lived in DC, I lived right down the street from ALPA National. And I didn't even know it back then, but I wasn't doing airline stuff. I want to touch on a couple things. You mentioned the legislative team. They are literally pilots driving to Capitol Hill and having meetings with congressmen and congresswomen to influence the decision making. Mm-hmm. And so basically we are a lobbying group. ALPA has an agenda, and the agenda is this is what's best for pilots. Yeah. And the friction, what is the protagonist and the antagonist, right? The other side of that are basically the airlines that come together, A4A, and the team there that lobbies for the business side, right? The pilots are the pilots are really focused on what's best for them, and the companies are focused on what's best for them. And sometimes they align, and sometimes there's friction. And so getting those laws that are passed have a direct impact on the livelihood of a pilot. Would you agree with that?
Oh, absolutely. I'm a legislative affairs vice chairman in Chicago, so I'm very familiar with being up on the Hill. And every June we have our legislative affairs summit where we get all the people together in DC, and we'll have congressmen and senators come in and talk to us. And then we wrap it all up with, we all get in our uniforms and we go up to the Hill, and we go see our local congressmen. We go see our senators and talk with them, and, talk to them about what's pressing right now. Last year, we were talking with them, thanking them for passing the FAA Reauthorization Act. And it's the great thing about ALPA is we try to be as nonpartisan as possible. We care about pilots. It doesn't matter Democrat or Republican. One of our keynote speakers last year, Jack Bergman, Republican congressman from the Upper Peninsula, Michigan, and Traverse City. He's a two-time battle star recipient, which means he went on strike twice, Continental and Northwest Airlines. He's Republican. You generally don't think of Republicans as being your union guys. He absolutely loves us. He's out there supporting us all the time. Um, and on the other side, we've got Democrats that absolutely love us too. So that's the great thing about like the legislative stuff is we don't care how you vote on other things. We're pilot centric. So it's our job to make sure you understand where we're coming from and try and advocate for our pilots as much as possible.
One thing that you brought up that I have used multiple times is a group called AMAS. And AMAS, it's basically former FAA AMEs, like aeromedical examiners, that have formed an organization in Detroit, and ALPA pays for their services. Your dues pay for those services, and because those services are paid for, if you have something, if you I had a diagnosis through the VA, and I was worried about losing my medical, and so I gave them a call and got a consultation with the doctor about all the things, and he walked me through the entire, like the whole fire that I was going through. He was with me every step of the way, and not only that, he meets with the doctors at the FAA on a weekly basis. And so he brings up the cases and tries to advocate to help move that medical along at a faster pace, because, FAA is super overwhelmed, super understaffed. And so that organization has been so helpful to me and countless other pilots. I mean, I feel like that's worth the cost of entry right there. Probably the most important thing I think about being part of the union is the effort that they put into safety. If for a person that has a mishap, God forbid, or some kind of event, ALPA is there along the way. Can you kind of describe what the process would be like? Hey, here I am, I had a mishap, and now what do I do?
Yeah, so safety is one of the founding principles of ALPA. It's why we got started, and our motto is schedule with safety. So if you have an accident or incident somewhere, we all have the orange card in our app that has that hotline number of who to call, and secure the airplane, make sure you're okay, make sure your passengers are okay, get away, and then call that number. And that starts a chain of events where a series of volunteers from National as well as your airline will start to get involved to make sure the process is being respected, that your crew is taken care of, your passengers are taken care of, and that everyone's okay. And they're going to walk with you and be by your side through the entire thing. If it's a serious accident, they'll make sure you're sequestered from the general public and the press and out of the way, and that your needs are being met, as well as your captain or your first officer and the rest of your crew. And they're going to do everything they can to take care of you and make sure that you're okay, make sure your family's okay. So that, that's going to involve the Central Air Safety Committee, Critical Incident Response, the SOAR committee. There's so many people that get involved when something happens. Then ALPA mobilizes its resources, and not only your airline. We had the PSA incident earlier this year, and I do volunteer work for the CIRP committee, and PSA doesn't necessarily have a large committee, so ALPA National, they said, hey, who can help, and mobilize the volunteers, and we had people from every airline in DC and in Dayton and wherever we had to be able to help out. And that's what we do. We band together. We all fly for different airlines, but we're all ALPA pilots. We're here to help each other.
Yeah, that is the coming together of the people really makes you understand how important it is, because day in and day out, you're flying the line, you're doing your thing, and you're not really thinking about those resources. But man, the second you need it, you're gonna be thankful as anything that it's there.
Yeah, it's a well-oiled machine. I mean, the minute you make that call, it starts a chain reaction. And I remember we had a major weather incident years ago where the Southwest and Southeast froze, and ALPA National president and vice president were on the phone, calling us saying, hey, what can we do? What do you need? We had FedEx pilots driving to the hotel in Jackson, Mississippi to bring our guys and girls water at the hotel because they had no resources. So, anytime there's something, we band together.
Yeah, I was trapped in my house for like 10 days when that happened.
Snowpocalypse, the dreaded half inch of snow in Pensacola.
I was in Fort Worth at the time.
Oh, that's okay. Yeah.
You remember?
Yeah. Oh, I remember. Yeah.
Oh man, that was awful. But thank God I had a wood burning stove because we went through a cord of wood in 10 days and we had just gotten it delivered. So anyway,
yeah.
I digress. Sorry, this is part of the show is where I just go off on a tangent. Drilling it down a little more local. So anybody that has prepared for an aviation interview, like a professional aviation interview, there's almost guaranteed to be some kind of conflict question or a what would you do if you ran into a person that that you hated or didn't get along with or was a bigot or was drunk or what this or that or the other. And basically it's a question about like your decision making and how you're going to do that. And for a person that's in an airline and involved in the union, it seems like an easy answer. And I want to tell you the easy answer is you call professional standards, and they call it pro stands or pro stan or whatever different monikers for it. Discuss with me what professional standards is.
Professional standards is the de-escalator. It's union pilots who, when you call pro standards, you either call them or we have a system called PDR where you can send a message saying, hey, I need to talk to somebody. And the beautiful thing is it's confidential. There is no records kept. There's no, like for our system, we can't even put in a narrative of what went wrong. It's just, hey, call me. And basically it's an individual that you talk to, you describe the incident that happened, where the conflict was, and they're going to listen to you. And then they're going to talk to you about it. And then they're going to reach out to the other person and talk to them about it and try and come up with a de-escalation. I mean, some people just aren't aware. We have very different personalities. We come from all different walks of life. And, pro standards is there to try and smooth things out. And a lot of people don't like conflict. Having a difficult talk, especially in a flight deck, can be really hard to do. And some people just want to go the pro standards route. And it's a great route because it keeps it internal. We would always tell pilots, keep your business inside the house. Don't go to the chief pilot. Don't go to HR. Let's try and handle it as a union. Let's try and handle it between the three of us before we bring in the company side. Because if we can handle it internal, then it goes away. And obviously there's some things that pro standards cannot touch. And, they're well aware of those things. And if it's one of those incidents, they're going to say, hey, we'd love to help you, but this kind of thing we absolutely can't be a part of. But for most things, I mean, we have different kind of personalities. If you're having a clash, if you don't like something and you're not a person who can handle those tough talks on the flight deck, then they're a great group of people to talk to. They don't keep notes. Everything you say, the only thing they're going to keep is your phone number so they can follow up. So it's an amazing route to use.
I would say even if you are good at dealing with conflict, like some people love positional authority, and this is often the case if you're a first officer and and you're having just a hard time with a captain. That's your opportunity to call, because if they could basically be like, F you, I don't want to listen to what you say. Just shut up and color. And it can get really hard in that flight deck.
It can.
And so that's why you call, and that's why you have that. Yep. I will never forget. So I used to help out. I used to help out. I make phone calls, talk to people, talk people off the ledge of being angry. Oftentimes I would call somebody and I'd hear what they had to say. And then I call the other person and they're at the overnight or whatever. And that person's like totally caught off guard. Like, you're kidding. What? No way. No, I totally didn't mean it like that. And it's an opportunity for really good growth. And that's fun and great. And sometimes not. So
yeah,
you just gotta balance it all out.
Sometimes it's to the point where you might have to be removed from the trip. I mean, if it's that big of an issue, and it does happen, but the goal is to not get it to that point. It's to try and figure out, all right, we have a disconnect. Let's try and come back together and make sure we have our CRM and our unit cohesion. And, the number one priority is the safety of the aircraft and the crew and the people on there. And if we're having a conflict where we can't do that, where it's distracting us, then Pro Standards is a great opportunity and a great resource to use to try and bring us back together and work as a crew.
Yeah. Also, write down with if somebody calls you and says, "Hey, I'm from Professional Standards. I got a call and I want to talk to you about something." I would encourage that person to write down the things they talked about, and then you need to do like a deep dive onto what those main topics are to understand yourself a little better, because it's an opportunity for growth. And
Yeah, it's a tremendous moment of reflection, especially if you're the person they're calling on. It's like, okay, let's figure out where's the disconnect. What, we do a debrief after every flight. What did we do well? What could have gone better? What will we do next time? And Pro Standards is basically, it's a great way to debrief. Like, okay, I've done something. What can I do to change that behavior and be a better first officer, a better captain in the future?
I don't want to sit here and be like I'm better than everybody else. I want to tell every pilot listening that I got a call from Professional Standards once.
And I believe it. You're a tyrant.
It was you calling me. We were at Envoy.
It was me.
It was you.
Oh, wow.
And here's how I'll never forget it. Like, it was really impactful on my life. I was my first flight in an Embraer 175, and I messed up the squawk, and I messed it up twice before we got off the ground. And the captain was a younger guy, and he snapped at me. He was like, "Get your shit together," or something like that. And I was like when he cursed at me, I like cursed right back. Like, I was just like hot, because I was like, wait a second, nobody talks to me like this. And then I was just quiet. I was silent all the way to Birmingham from Fort Worth. We landed at the hotel, and I'm going off on a tangent, but it's like 10 o'clock p.m. and my phone rings and it's you. And I was like, uh-oh, something happened. And I pick it up and I'm like, what happened? And he's like, Pro Stands call. I was like, oh, no kidding. Who do I need to call? And you're like, you need to call yourself. And I said, what? And you talk to me like, this guy called and this is the things that happen. And he thinks you're a jerk and he doesn't want to fly with you. And I was like, oh no, oh man. And I was immediately filled with remorse, and we had a conversation, and it was, you and I had a conversation, and then you had a new Pro Stands guy call me who was like new to like try out to like practice stuff, who didn't know that I was also in the union. And so he talked to me, and I was really cool. It was really great. When I went and talked to the captain, which I decided, I was like, do I do it tonight or do I wait till the morning? I was like, I'll wait till the morning. I went to talk to the captain, and he was not having it. Like, he had pages of notes. He was like stewed over it all night. He was very upset. And I was like, oh gosh. And I didn't think I was going to be able to talk him into like flying with me, because he was just like really upset that I snapped back at him. But I'm also probably the first person to like respond back to him the way he set forward. And, I stepped back and I had humility about it, and we like made it through the flight. And, man, that was a quick way to like learn a lot. But Pro Stands gave me that opportunity, because he could have called the company and I could have been counseled by HR. I could have been disciplined. I could have been a lot of bad things. And that's the beauty, is the Professional Standards.
Well, I'm glad it was a good experience. I mean, clearly no notes, no records. So I now that we talk about it, I 100% remember the conversation.
Yeah, good. Yeah, I tell that story when I talk to my first officers a lot about the union and the importance of the union, and I talk about that story because I think that it's very important. I think Pro Stands one of like the top 3 most important things that ALPA has: medical safety. Pro Stands.
Yeah, it's huge.
It's huge. All right, man. So why, you've been in the union, you've been working with the union for a long time. Why do you do it?
Well, I grew up in a union house. My dad was in the military. When he got out, he was a mailman. And I spent a lot of time at the Union Hall of the National Association of Letter Carriers, Branch 56 in Grand Rapids, and being around those guys, doing their food drives, walking the picket line with them. And, when I got in the industry. I started out as a ramper for a contract company. wasn't really on that track. And then when I got to Envoy, I got through probation, and we had a chief pilot who was less than friendly with a lot of people. He was really difficult to work with in Chicago, and it was one of those things where it was like, all right, I see this person of power who is difficult, who makes things hard for a lot of people, and it's just not fair. And so I initially got involved, and I just wanted to make a difference. So I started out as a pilot to pilot and a mentor, and then ended up getting elected as the Chicago vice chairman, and then MEC vice chair and chair. And as soon as I came off probation in 2017, I got involved, and I've been doing it since.
First off, if you have an opportunity to volunteer with Tom, it's a really cool thing, because he knows where all the bodies are buried. He knows, like, you just hear him rattling off things about the union, about the people that work in the union, even ALPA National. He knows everybody, and know, the rules, and the regs, and like all, and the contract, and like what we should be negotiating for, and all this stuff. And that's why I'm thankful for that, because like when I got into there, I was just like treading water to stay alive. It was like, imagine you're drowning and somebody hands you a baby, right? And I still to this day make tons of phone calls to you and to our friends and to the other union people that I know whenever I have a question, because I just don't but I feel like, man, you've got such a handle on all this stuff, and it's an amazing thing.
There's, it's one of those things where, you get involved and you kind of dabble in all kinds of stuff, and you get to know people and understand things. And I am by no means an expert on everything. And, I'm 100% able to admit, that I have shortcomings when it comes to deep dive on the contract and things like that. But, luckily we have subject matter experts that know far more than I could ever understand. And that's the beauty, is you can pick up a phone, send an email, call anybody, and they'll get you the answer. And it doesn't matter if you're at Delta, at PSA, at United, FedEx, any of the ALPA carriers. We all have those resources, and men and women who are volunteering because they have a passion for doing this and want to help out, want to leave the airline a better place and leave the union a better place.
What would you tell somebody that's listening to this that has a union at their company that has not participated?
There's no pressure to participate. And I do the new hire welcome dinners at United, and I try and tell them, hey, your job your first year, please attend one council meeting, kind of meet your reps, see what's going on, listen to what's going on. And if you want to volunteer when you come off probation, give us a call, raise your hand. If you have a passion for something, if you have experience with something, we always need help, not only at the Master Executive Council level, but the local council. And if you want to help out, we're happy to have you. We need as many people who are dedicated professionals to the flying profession, but also who just, want to give something a try. We'll gladly bring you under our wing and try and help you do whatever you want to do with us.
Tom, thank you for coming on the show. Thanks for being a friend. Thank you for what you do for the pilot community. You're awesome.
Yeah, man, I'm happy to be here. I'm loving what you're doing for the pilot community. I mean, as a whole, this is great. It's educational opportunities, however they may come, are spectacular things. So I appreciate what you've done with your time in this whole thing.
All right, pilots, that's the episode. I hope you've really enjoyed it. But before you go, do me a quick favor, subscribe to my show and leave me a review. Give me a 1-star review if it was totally worthless. Give me a 5-star review if it was the most amazing thing you've ever heard. I want to hear from you. So if you can give me a review, subscribe to the podcast, make yourself a little bit better, I will be happy. You'll be happy. We'll keep crushing. I cannot wait to see you on the next episode.